is challenging where you are, you're going to challenge back. Imagine yourself in a fist fight. Jerry had so many fist fights in his early years as he was going to make the world a better place. And no world ever got better. In other words, they just fought stronger and came on harder, in other words. And so hold in your mind an image of being at that point in your experience where it's actually come to physical blows. Only right before it comes to the first physical blow, you just decide you're not going to go there, and you just withdraw your physical action from it. And it is our promise to you that making that determination will keep it from going into that worse place that it was going to go. Now imagine standing in the midst of a real disagreement with a lover or an employer or an employee or anyone, and you are just verbally, you are so queued up to just let them know how wrong they are and what you think about it. Only in the same way that you withdrew your action, withdraw your conversation too. In other words, don't go there. Don't go there. Don't perpetuate that side of the wave any further. Don't go there. These are extreme examples of making a little peace. Pull your fists back in. That's a little peacemaking. Pull your words back in. Because have you ever stood face to face with someone who didn't agree with you about something and ever convinced them that you were right?
No.
Didn't they just get sure of their position, and weren't you just sure? Was there ever a resolution about it?
No.
So don't go there. In other words, pull back the action, pull back the verbiage, and now really making peace with it is pulling back the thought. In other words, we're not kidding. In other words, we would not sit and read something that we feel disagreement with. We would pull back from that. We would watch something float in water. We would watch something on television that distracted us from it. What we would really do, we would meditate. We would quiet our mind. We would focus on the flicker of a candle, or we would focus upon the dripping of Esther's nose, or a faucet. We would focus upon something that distracted us from the thought that we were thinking. And as you focus upon something that distracts you, then you will deactivate, like pulling back the fists and pulling back the words. It's pulling back the vibration. You pull back the vibration. And when you understand that it's all about attraction, when you deactivate the basis of the attraction, this is the ultimate making peace with where you are. And the thing about that is, if you can do that, this vortex of which you are a big part, this vortex that exists because of all the stuff you've put in it, this vortex that is vibrationally tuned to you and connected to you, who has always been calling you, will be able to call you because you've deactivated the vibration that was keeping you from being able to go in easily. Then, once inside the vortex, now read.
Right.
Once you know you're in there, that's when you want to read it. I'm becoming more aware of my feeling about money. Yeah, I am. I want to harmonize with what I believe is good. Ooh, I do, I really do. I can always tell a different financial abundance story. In other words, from inside the vortex, all of this feels entirely different. And that's where you want to do all of your work.
Right.
Anything you can do to get in, and when you get in there, do your work. Do the work to stay in. Esther's been playing the ABC game, laying in her bed trying to find an inside the vortex word that starts with A, and then an inside the vortex word that starts with B. Abundance and belief, basking, clarity, delicious, energy, fun. She just goes through the alphabet and goes through the alphabet, and she's finding that it's something that she's just so looking forward to doing, because it's a making peace with whatever is going on moment that always takes her into the vortex every single time.
Right. I mean, and I've heard you recommend that game as well. I guess the times when I'm more aware that I'm not in the vortex, if I try to play that game, it just aggravates me.
But you see, this game is different than if you're really in a place you don't want to be and you're trying to find thoughts of what you do want. There's too big of a vibrational space. But the thing about that game is it's just a simple, rather inane, not important, you don't have any dog in the fight, so to speak, game. In other words,
it will still, I mean, I guess that's what's stuck in my craw.
Then you haven't played it long enough.
Okay.
Because really, we know that this is the conversation that we've been having, humans, from the time that we've been interacting through Esther in this way. Is that on the one hand you say that's far too simplistic, or you're agreeing with what we just said, that those thoughts are positive and I'm not in a positive place. But if you have heard what we've just said and you've convinced if your determination is as you've said it is, that you want to make peace with where you are, this game will help you make peace with where you are, because it will distract you with the war that you've been waging. Right. Because it's not that easy to find a word, an inside the vortex word that goes with every letter. In other words, after you get rolling, you'll find more and more and more. Esther was so excited the day. K. Oh, there's kindness. K. The day she found knowing or knowledge, she was ecstatic. Ecstatic. In other words, she's still working on something other than Xanadu for X. And she's been cheating a little with excellent and exhilaration. She knows they don't really start with X, but there's a big X in there. Zippity-doo-dah is her favorite Z, in other words. But it takes focus. And if you're determined to make it all the way through, and then she was determined that she was going to speak a sentence that started with each word. Okay. And that took 3 days of concentration. In other words, to come up with just a really good sentence that took her all the way through the alphabet. Actually, 2 sentences. Work on that. You'll like it. And so we know. Now, the thing is, we've got to convince you, because it takes time to do something that silly and dumb.
It's true.
It takes time, and it takes focus, and it takes a sort of determination, and it will distract you from whatever it is that's stuck in your vibrational craw at the moment. And then the vortex will take you in. Well, once the vortex takes you in, you can do much more meaningful work than that. Once you're in the vortex, dream your dreams. Make love to your lover. When you're in the vortex, plan the house of your dreams. Manage your empires. When you're in the vortex, bask in the deliciousness of the world. Imagine world peace. Help your president become more effective. In other words, take on the big projects, but do it when you're in the vortex. Because when you're in the vortex, you're up for it, you see. When you're in the vortex, you've got inspiration of source flowing through you. You'll find yourself doing mighty work inside the vortex.
Okay. One more question. I know that the whole purpose of consciousness is to prefer. It's sorting through that contrast. But what is it?
Well, the purpose of consciousness is, we would say, joyous expansion.
Right.
And we have to say, we can't give expansion the word purpose, because it's inevitable.
Okay.
The purpose has to be given to the determined guidance toward joy or alignment. Joy and alignment are equivalent. Do you get that?
Yes.
When we say joy, we mean alignment, because you can't feel joy if you're not in alignment with your furthermost expansion. Ooh, how good it all goes together.
What is it, or where is it where we make those preferences? So, for example, I like things that are sweet but not too sweet. Where is that preference?
From your exposure to life. From your exposure to life. In other words, are you asking, is there an outside of me already concluded decision about the rightness or the appropriateness?
No. My question is, what is it that forms me, that allows me to make that specific preference?
Life experience. life experience, exposure to life which causes you to ask. And it's interesting because, what you're going to begin to experience, imagine what it would be like if you as an individual or you as a large body of people were to have exposure, launch a rocket, and align with it immediately, and then not experience that lag time which affects so many more launches. In other words, can you feel how everywhere you stand, everything that's happening is responsible for the launch? So you're just putting so much into this vortex. There's so much there already that you're depriving yourself of. Can you imagine what life would be like in the elimination of the depriving energy and the allowance of the receiving of all that you've put there?
I mean, I've had moments where that's happened, where I've seen that in my own
Deliberate
life.
creating at its best. Very good. We've
Thank you.
enjoyed this. Good time for a segment of refreshment.